Hey guys, I couldn't help but make another video while I'm thinking about it. This is the 5th installment of Mischief Magus. I'm going to talk about the houses, all 12 of them. No, there are not 1,500 trillion little separate houses that some people probably like to think about. There's not. There's only 12 of them. And all of them are important. Everything that you can think of in your existence, in daily life, whether it be money, friends, neighbors, debt, all of those things can be smacked somewhere in one of those 12 houses. It's really important, especially for natal and pretty much everything else. It's important in talismanic magic, which is what we're doing, but it's not as important. It's still super important, and you'll grow to understand why. Typically, I like to focus on the ascendant, literally the angle of the ascendant and the midheaven. The angles of those are the two that, if you can help it, work with those when you're making a talisman. The others are important, but anyway, this is something that I find truly fascinating. Like I said, the horoscopes and all the zodiac and all the natal charts and every other piece of shit that you hear about in astrology, you can find it in the 12 houses. I want to run through really quickly what each of the houses represents so there's no confusion. Remember, I'm pretty much just going to give you one sentence for each, and then I will probably go over a little bit more in depth on exactly what all that stuff means. We'll go from first all the way around, so first, second, and so on. The first house is you. You are the first house. So that represents your health. That represents where you are in your birth chart. It represents everything about you, where you are, what aspects your planet is making, and so on and so forth. The second house is considered the house of movable possessions, money. The third house is brothers, neighbors, short trips and travels. The fourth house is family, for the most part. The fourth house and the first house, it should be noted, are angular, just like the 7th and the 10th. They're very powerful houses. They are the ones that give planets the most power to do whatever the planet signifies in your chart. Do not forget them. You won't, because we'll go over them. The 5th house represents pleasure and children, sex, gambling, fun, merriment, drinking, fun. That's all the 5th house. The 6th house is not. The 6th house is about sickness and slavery and drudgery and slavery and sickness, basically. It's not a fun. It's one of the 3 not fun houses. The 7th house is angular, as I had just mentioned, along with the 4th and the 1st. It is the house of relationships, partnerships, and open enemies. I should know. I have a lot of planets in the 7th house. So, those are the first 7. Moving on, we have 8, the 8th house. A lot of people are like obsessed with the 8th house for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's not really that great. But the 8th house is the house of death and anxiety, grief, loss of mind, as well as other people's money. So it has good, and interestingly enough, and I'll try and work with you on this, but just think about it. 8th house is other people's money. 2nd house is your money. They are completely opposite. Just as the ascendant is you and the 7th. So the ascendant is the 1st house. The descendant is the 7th house. Ascendant is you. Descendant is your partner or business partners or your marriage. And open enemies. Anyone who opposes you, pretty much. The 9th house is higher learning, foreign travel, excursions that take you into a foreign land and basically enlightening you to learn. The 10th house this is one of the big ones. I think this is the 2nd strongest house. I mean, actually it is, bar none. There's no arguments. And I'll give you the list of what the strongest houses are in order. The 10th house is what you're remembered for, your job, what your public image is, pretty much. The 11th house is considered the house of the, I can't remember if I'm going to get this right or not, the house of the good spirit or good diamond. I can't remember. It's good. It's super good. It represents friends, all forms of assistance and good faith and goodwill that are given to you. Mostly friends, big social circles. It's a really, really good house too. Finally, the 12th house. I know a lot of people on a lot of forums talk about the 12th house is for karmic lessons and past lives. And you are so unbelievably incorrect. I mean, I'm sorry, but that just pisses me off. And, whether it's to make you feel better or whatnot, the 12th, 8th, and 6th houses are wholly unfortunate, and they are not good. Try to avoid them if you can. I know that people will have stuff in those houses. I know that it's hard to understand that these things, not everything is good in astrology. And like I said, it represents everything. All things that could be good and bad can be found in astrology. The 12th house represents imprisonment, self-isolation, self-undoing, and secret enemies. All things that nobody wants. Also, I think it rules animals that you can ride on, like cows and horses. I can't remember if that's the 6th house or if that's the 12th house. So that's just a general idea of what the houses are. So a lot of people talk about, well, this house represents this, 6th house represents, career or whatever. Wrong, wrong, wrong. 10th house is career, what you're remembered for. 6th house is drudgery, misery, illness, sickness, that kind of thing. I mean, I guess it could be career, but it's more like, it's not like, oh, this is my career. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the difference. So I wanted to kind of explain that before you delve a little bit further. And like I said, these things, some of them are not pleasant. I'm sorry if I come off a little harsh, but you can't have everything in existence without having literally everything, including the bad shit that nobody wants to address, talk about, or acknowledge. Just really quick, all of the houses, they have some significance, whether it's above the earth, which is the 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, and 7th. Those are considered above the earth houses because those are the things you can see in the sky when you crane your rubber neck up and you look and see what's there. Those are considered visible parts of the sky. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth is the half that is under the earth. You look down and golly, you see your feet and the floor. You can't see whatever's under there. In fact, it's a miracle we actually have this awesome technology that allows us to be like, right over there is where Mercury is. I think it's cool, and it's fascinating, and it makes our lives considerably easier. Have you ever tried to actually draft a real birth chart, like draw it out, make the calculations? Well, I haven't, and I'm not gonna start because it seems like really, really time consuming. We should be thankful for these awesome people that are making software that allows us to do this and just flip through it. Okay, there it is. It's great. It's done. Probably saves us about 5 hours worth of time, if that. Probably a lot more. I mentioned the above the earth and under the earth stuff because it's going to be important later. Not for magic, but if you're interested. Most of the stuff that's above the earth is visible. It has some significance because it's within our sight. I mean, even if you can't see it up in the sky, it's there. Under the earth is more like, I don't want to go into the psychology part of it, but I would argue that under the earth stuff is more either weakened or it's internal and it's not happening. I'm sure that that's not correct, but that's kind of how I see it. So I definitely want to delve into the houses a little bit more. This is a basic introduction to the houses. They're really, really complicated, and they have their own... You should respect them just as much as the planets. Signs, cool. Planets, very important. Houses, also very important. I mean, everything's important. Everything that I'm telling you is extremely important, which is why I'm telling you and taking the time to tell you about this. But houses tell you where the planets are doing what they're doing in the signs. So it's pretty interesting. Planets are what signified. Signs are what they're doing. And the houses are where. So that's about it for now. I think I'm a little spoken out. I'm going to try and get another video up and running. Maybe I think I'll start working with the houses themselves. I'll maybe do 2, 3, or 4, or 5 at a time. I'll probably do 6. I think 6 makes sense, because then I can just do another video after that and be done with them. But it's a lot of really, really good work. I really highly suggest you look into the houses. Book that I suggest you read for this, and if you need, I can give you a link. It's called Temples of the Sky by DEB HOULDING. Lady is really, really profound. Better at this stuff than I ever will be. I'm telling you right now, she's super, super, super good. And she's the person who made SkyScript, so she knows what she's talking about. I recommend you look into the book if you want. If not, well, watch the videos. But it's a good resource. You know, you can read it when you have a cup of tea at night and, you know, you're going to bed and you're thinking about what I say. Let me read a little bit more. It's worth a consideration. You don't have to, or you can wait for me. Either way, it's cool. All right, I'll see you guys around. Thanks for watching.